Hello everyone and welcome back to a very special episode of Jose's Totally Rad Life. In my last video, I did the review for the 2026 live-action Masters of the Universe movie. I loved this movie. It was a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, please go and watch it. You're missing out on a great time at the movies. But 2026 is also the 20th anniversary of a very special cultural touchstone for my generation. This young lady needs no introduction. Some of you knew her as Miley Stewart. Some of you knew her as Hannah Montana. I really wasn't sure how I was going to do this video, but I think I have a pretty good idea of how to make this transition into beginning 2000s era content. If you were a child of the 1980s, like my mom and dad, chances are you watched Masters of the Universe. And Prince Adam was the alter ego of He-Man. We got Prince Adam and Cringer, and then they would go and scurry off somewhere off camera and transform into He-Man and Battle Cat. He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. That being said, if you are my age and you're a child of the 2000s, and you grew up in the 21st century, chances are your childhood very well may have looked like this. Not everyone's was the same, but we still had physical media. Here are some of the shows that I watched at a very young age, like Speed Racer, Little House on the Prairie, Grease, Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, Smurfs, He-Man, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Full House, Pinky and the Brain, Spider-Man, Max and Ruby, The Letter Factory, Sky High, Hot Wheels, SpongeBob, Madagascar, Herbie Fully Loaded, High School Musical, which also turned 20 years old this year in 2026, Hannah Montana, The Polar Express, Taylor Swift, Fearless, an iconic album from the 2000s. You got the Jonas Brothers, David Archuleta, Hunter Hayes, Justin Bieber, One Direction. You got this here CD player. This is my childhood iPod from 2009. So between this and my Walkman from 1979, there's about a 30-year age difference. I played Pocket Bike Racer on the Xbox. I loved listening to Keith Urban. I watched the Smurfs. I loved playing on the Nintendo Wii. And I loved playing Michael Jackson The Experience. One of my favorite movies as a kid was Cars. That movie also turned 20 years old this year, which I can't believe that. But enough talk. Let's get to the point of the video today. We are here today to talk about Hannah Montana, which turned 20 years old this year. 20! Can you believe it? I mean, I know I can't. 20 years old. That's insane. I mean, to me, this literally feels like it was just yesterday. But let's get to talking about the 20th anniversary special. Now, for some of you, the next little clip I'm about to show you is going to take you back to when you were small in 2006. Cue the video! It's hard to believe that over 20 years ago, Hannah Montana debuted in March of 2006. Now, we've got a lot of ground to cover leading up to the 20th anniversary, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. This is one of the defining television shows of my era. With the ensemble cast, phenomenal acting, everybody's contributing so well, and running on all cylinders. This is one of the shows that went on to define my generation. In the 80s, you had He-Man. My generation, we got Hannah freaking Montana. She was huge, and that is an understatement. She was so popular. When I sat down to watch the 20th anniversary special, it kind of took me out of being super uber duper obsessed with almost everything 1980s, and it really reminded me of what my experiences were growing up as a child. And it made me start getting really nostalgic about my own childhood, because so much has changed since I was a kid in the 2000s. It's crazy. You know, during this time, Miley, none of us had ever heard of Miley Cyrus before, but man, oh man, must I give kudos to the casting director because this show is phenomenal. It's got a phenomenal cast, and they absolutely nailed it. Miley Cyrus is Hannah Montana. I can't imagine anybody else as Hannah. She will always be Hannah. You got Billy Ray Cyrus. You've got Emily Osmond, who plays Miley's best friend, Lily, aka Lola. After that, we get introduced to Miley and Lily's other best friend, Oliver Smokin' Oaken, played by Mitchell Musso. And like I said, this casting, whoever the casting director was, this is lightning in a bottle. I loved watching this television show with my sisters. Yes, shocker, I'm not an only child, but we grew up watching this on Disney Channel together, and it is a very, very fond memory that I have from my childhood. Oliver's kind of obsessed with trying to become Hannah Montana's boyfriend. The premise of this show is kind of ridiculous, and when you're watching it, you need to suspend your belief in reality and just dial in and watch the television show and just let the story play out, you know. Lily snuck into Hannah's dressing room, and unbeknownst to Lily, that is her best friend, Miley Stewart. Now, Miley is doing everything in her power to avoid her identity being revealed to Lily. So they end up playing semantics in Hannah's dressing room, you know, and Miley's really trying to avoid having Lily look directly at her face so she can analyze it. And I remember watching the pilot, and it was just great watching the two actresses go back and forth, really selling the characters that they're playing. And, you know, Lily calls up Miley, and Hannah's phone starts ringing. And Lily's like, that's a coincidence. And Miley's like, yeah, it sure is. Here, let me get you out of here. How about I give you an autograph? And then who should appear in the window but Oliver Smokin' Oaken? And so Miley's caught between a rock and a hard place. She's got her two best friends in her dressing room. And Oliver, like I said, is obsessed. Miley gives Oliver her towel, and he's like, oh my gosh. It's so funny. Miley's like, sweet niblets. She opens the door to try to get Lily to leave, and she's like, you know, she's trying to slow roll it, you know, trying to leave, you know, trying to guilt trip Hannah. And finally, Miley just gives her one of Hannah Montana's scarves, and she starts freaking out. Lily starts freaking out, and, you know, she's like, hey, that looks like my best friend's bracelet, but that couldn't be because mine says Lily on the back. And then, oh no, surprise, it says Lily. And she finds out Miley's secret. So after Lily finds out Miley's secret, she takes on a new persona as Lola. And so Miley is Hannah and Lily is Lola. And so they're like, oh no, what if people find out our secret? And Lily's like, you know, if people find out that I'm Lily, it's only a matter of time before they find out that you are Miley. And so then there's another log on the fire, and you know, it's snowballing into this really big, you know, thing that is getting out of control very quickly, and not a whole lot has even happened yet. Oliver's persistent on being Hannah's boyfriend, and then Lily's dog Thor licks him on the hand, and he's like, you're an animal. He's like, you know, he thought it was Hannah, and so, you know, they're trying to get away from Oliver, and in his pursuit, he is so persistent, he will not take no for an answer. He's biking on the highway next to the car, and it's just ridiculous. He throws flowers into the car, and they're like, this has got to stop. So finally it comes to a head, and Miley confronts Oliver and reveals to him that she is Hannah Montana, and he passes out. It's hilarious. She's like, well, that went well. And so the two of them are talking, and he's like trying to piece everything together. He's like, wait, so the entire time I've been chasing after Hannah, it's been you the whole time? And she's like, yep. And she's like, can we still be friends? And Oliver's like, yeah. Some notable guest appearances, for starters, the legendary and iconic Dolly Parton. And Dolly is a legend in her own right, and I respect her so much. You know, she did the collaboration with Steve Perry. She did the rock and roll record. But for my generation, she was always Aunt Dolly on Hannah Montana. Another notable guest star was David Archuleta, the one and only. In 2008, Miley teams up with the Jonas Brothers for an unforgettable 3D movie called The Best of Both Worlds. I remember watching this in 3D in my living room. My mom and dad had purchased the movie, so it was 3D during its theatrical release, and then you could also watch it in 3D at home. And man, that was just such a cool experience. I absolutely loved it. It was a generational, one-of-a-kind moment that I'll never forget. On April 10th, 2009, the Hannah Montana movie debuted, and to say this movie was huge would be a monumental understatement. This movie marked the end of an era for my entire generation, and it marked the end of an era, and it was the beginning of Miley's transition into adulthood as a young woman. And what a remarkable young woman she has grown to become. To Miley, we love you. By the end of the movie, when she's still performing as Hannah, and nobody else in the world except her close circle knows that she's actually Miley, it just gets to be way too much for her, and she has to take a step back, and she's like, I can't keep doing this anymore. I can relate to that a lot, and for right now, I cannot keep doing 80s related content because I can only do it so much. I wasn't there 40 years ago, so I don't know everything about it, like what it was like to be there. I can appreciate it. Nothing's ever going to take away how cool I think the 80s are. But I've never received so much backlash and just negativity before. People unsubscribing from my channel and commenting, we like what you used to do, but we don't like this new direction that you're going. I didn't ask for your approval. I'm doing this for me. When I started this channel, I started it in the 80s because just chronologically, timeline-wise, it made the most sense. And so now I'm starting to step into my own and tell my own story, and a lot of people just don't want to hear it. The same could be said. I could say the same thing and be incredibly rude and dismissive of Gen X, being like, you know, screw you guys are lame, your music was lame, your TV shows were lame, but I don't. In fact, I've invested 10 years of my life into trying to understand what it was like to grow up in the 80s, and I still love that. Nothing's going to take that away, but I got to do this for me. After the massive success that was Hannah Montana, the movie, Miley releases her first debut record not on a Disney music label. On August 4th, 2009, Miley Cyrus releases Party in the USA. This was a departure, obviously, from the sound that she had made for herself at Disney. It was a little more adult, targeted towards like a teenage demographic, and I couldn't stand the song personally when it came out, but looking back at it in hindsight, when I hear it in retrospective, I love the song. In 2013, Miley releases her songs Wrecking Ball and Can't Stop. Now, up until this point, she had had a squeaky clean image that was marketed at a child audience. Now, Miley is into adulthood, and she's exploring herself. She's expressing herself. Madonna did the same thing back in 1984 with Like a Virgin, and that really made people upset as well. This isn't supposed to be for kids, and Miley is expressing herself as artists should. By 2023, Miley releases Flowers, which has an empowering message to women about their worth, emotional intelligence, and the beauty of feminism. Miley Cyrus is the voice of a generation, a fashion and music legend, a once-in-a-lifetime talent who inspired generations and women around the globe. This now leads us to the 20th anniversary from 2006 to 2026. The impact that Miley has had on the world of music, fashion, and pop culture cannot be understated. She released a song called Younger You, which talks about reconnecting with your younger self. It talks about reaching out to your parents and keeping in touch with them. And it talks about everything about the human experience. We were all children at one point or another in our lives. And I absolutely love Hannah Montana. It is a fantastic show. I cannot believe that it has been 20 years. I mean, that's just unbelievable. I mean, wow. Where does time go, honestly? It has been an honor and a pleasure bringing you the 20-year history of Hannah Montana. Yes, I love the 1980s, but as Miley said, the other side, the other side, the other side of me. There's another side of me that does not come out often enough, and it needs to come out more often. I really appreciate everyone who has stuck around with me since the very beginning. Your support means the world to me. Thank you to my mom, dad, grandparents, siblings, and friends and family for all your love and support over the years. I love you all so very much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, comment respectfully, and subscribe. Thank you.